Right?
Yep. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming. Let's go ahead and do pledge of allegiance and then we'll. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, John.
Harrison.
Here.
Mike Parsons.
Here.
Roger Tom.
Present.
John Quinn. John Edwards.
Yes. Present.
Yeah. Consent agenda.
We can do that.
Do you want it?
Yeah, we don't put them on here anymore for something because we already beginning. But
Oh, I did forget to turn it
usually
on.
that's where we got.
It's between the roll call and the consent
Yes.
agenda.
John Quinn just showed up. So.
Okay.
I don't know which one it is.
Tony needs to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, John?
He's on mute. Golden Gate Bridge.
Here he is. Okay, all right, we're just getting started. We just finished the pledge.
Okay. Okay, if what's her first name? Maria? Malia. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, she can go ahead then. That would be fine. Hi, Malia.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, it's Malia. It's like Maria, but with an L in the middle instead of an R. Did I say that right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anyway, I'm here representing myself only, but I am a citizen of Gold Hill and also, for those who don't know me, Gold Hill City Councilor. And I just wanted to come and say thank you for considering the vote that you're going to consider today. And thank you for your patience with the citizens of Gold Hill all of these years. I know this has been a really, really, really long process. But I'm absolutely thrilled that the citizens showed up and 93% of them voted yes, they want RVSS to serve Gold Hill. So I just wanted to say thank you, just personally, and also wanted to say thank you, especially if you'll extend our thanks or my thanks to the operators who've kept the plant on the rails all these years. I know that that's not been easy. And it's still going to have to stay on the rails for a couple more years until this whole process is done. But I just want to say thank you to all of you for all of that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
I know
you.
that they appreciate it. We've got a good group here. They do a marvelous job. They're hardworking and they do a really good job. Okay. All righty. Anything else?
I don't know if Mark Warburg showed up too. I don't know if he
Hi, Mark.
Take your time.
Hi, yeah, I think Malia kind of said it all, so I'd like to express my thanks also for your patience, and this is going to work out the best for the city of Gold Hill in the long run. So thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome. And that's what we're here for, is to serve all the communities that we can and help you out. So it's good.
Yep,
All right.
we appreciate it.
All right, now the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Harrison.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
Roger Tom.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to resolution 2328. And this is the sole source procurement for the SCADA.
SCADA system. And for. Anyway, so we have a contract with Control Systems Northwest to be our integrator of record. And one of the jobs of the integrator of record is to make sure that all our control systems are communicating with each other effectively and up to speed. So we had them do an evaluation of the Shady Cove treatment plant. And they went through and gave us a report that outlined a whole lot of things that they thought needed to be upgraded. You know, we don't want to do all of them right now because it's a big project, but what does need to get fixed right now is the backbone of the SCADA system. Our current SCADA system operates on a Windows 7 computer, which is obsolete. And if it failed, we'd be in a world of hurt. Kevin does have a couple of spare machines lying around, but not necessarily. But at any rate, to do a sole source procurement, there's a couple of different rules to do that. And that's what we're asking for here is to authorize Control Systems Northwest to actually do the installation of the new equipment. They've already completed the design. So it asked them to actually follow through with the installation. And I kind of outlined it in the resolution here that it is within the scope and duties of their contract as integrated record. And that was a competitive bid contract. So we selected them based on competitive proposals. There are provisions, let's see. It's in their scope and duties. It's within their scope and duties, and it's necessary for the efficient utilization and integration of system controls for goods and services. So basically, the state law procurement allows us specifically for software computer type applications because you can't just go out to bid and have somebody come in and bring in something that's not compatible with all the other stuff. So it has to be all compatible. And since we have these guys on board as our integrated record, it makes logical sense that we use them to actually do the installation and all the programming because they're the ones that are really in charge of maintaining that for us. So that's the request. It's $185,000. And if we give them the go ahead now, we should have everything up and running ideally by next summer. Yeah, it's quite a bit. I mean, they're replacing entire control panels and a lot of the wiring needs to be redone and a lot of programming.
So on this, because you said that we're gonna do more in the future, so this is all scalable.
Right.
And everything like that. And is there training that comes with it too?
Yeah, I think their proposal has, I think 40 hours of training included that they would be training our operators and making sure they understand how all this systems work.
And then they have backup afterwards, you know, we can.
Yes, they're local.
Oh, I like local.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the reasons. That was, you know, we got several proposals.
Oh, that's right, you said so last time.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that was most important to us, is that they're local and they can respond pretty quickly if we have an emergency.
Okay.
So yeah, there is backup. We would expect it. It's basically a partnership. I mean, a lot of cities have like an engineer of record that's not. It doesn't necessarily work for the city, but he's on call or an attorney. I mean, it's the same kind of relationship you have with your attorney, I guess.
Okay.
You call them when you need them, and they understand your system pretty well.
So this is Joe for the computers.
Joe for the computers, yes.
Anybody have any more questions or anything?
I do.
Go ahead, John.
It's a lot of money, Carl. What all are we getting? I know new computers and new software for it, but what other things are we getting? It seems like a lot of money. I'm sure you've planned it out and you're right. I just want to understand it.
This is the SCADA system for Shady Cove. So what we'll have after this is, to be able to remotely access all of the systems in Shady Cove, turn pumps on and off, monitor the performance of everything, monitor all of our flows, and all that's being done remotely. They are replacing basically the whole backbone of it. So the whole, and I'm not an electrical engineer, so I don't know if I could adjust the explanation, but the whole panel, every pump and motor at that plant has a PLC, a programmed logic controller attached to it. All those are getting replaced, and those all communicate with the computer on site. That's all getting replaced, and all the communications in between them. And then that is tied to, that goes out to the internet. There's a lot of security attached to that. It's not something that, you gotta be real careful because, you know, if a bad actor got into that, they could wreak havoc.
Oh, yeah. Not
So
good.
that all is housed completely separate from the rest of our network system. So, you know, it's got a whole different set of firewalls on it to protect it. So in essence, what we're getting, the price is what we expected, you know, when we started the project. It's not, you know, that's unfortunately what this kind of stuff costs.
Okay, that was helpful, Carl. Thank you.
Anybody else have any more questions? Okay, we're good. Yeah, I'm looking for a motion. Henry. We got a cheat sheet that helps you.
I move to approve resolution 2328 as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes,
John Edwards.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. I want to see it when it's all done. Because I know me.
Well, I'll be able to pull it up on the computer and look at it.
Yeah, I know the first time Kevin showed me his stuff on his phone, I was
Yeah.
like blown away. So, and this has got to be really cool because it's not going to be Windows 7.
Right.
Yeah,
Welcome to the 21st century.
my husband won't get rid of his Windows 7, but that's okay. He doesn't have to
At
run
some point, we'll get rid of him.
Yeah. Okay, next, resolution 2329, Gold Hill annexation.
Okay, this is the second to last step for the Gold Hill annexation. The election was held, we got the results, the final certified results came out Monday night. Last night, the city of Gold Hill adopted a resolution, Kate has a copy of that, where they certified the election. Now it's up to us to certify the results and forward that to the county elections, county commissioners, for them to adopt the board order. What I had in the packet, doesn't have the final resolution, actually has the actual vote, which, can you read what the actual vote was, okay?
The actual vote was, yes was 317 and no was 22 for a total of 339.
So for you guys, like about a 93%,
Yeah,
Yeah,
93.
rate.
Strongly supported.
Yeah,
So with this like I said, if we pass this resolution, this goes on to the county adopts their board order. And then once the board order is in place, then the annexation is done. We have the annexation agreement with Gold Hill that kind of spells out how the transition goes. We would start up billing in the month of November. We would send out bills to everybody. There would be some transfer of assets. The city needs to sign over the treatment plant property and whatever reserve funds there are in the sewer reserve funds, and that all goes into a capital reserve fund for the connection, the intertie project. We have issued a request for proposals for the engineering design of the intertie. I've got a meeting with an engineer this afternoon out there. I got another engineer coming on Friday and another one coming next week that wants to tour the site and get a better sense of it. So there's a fair amount of interest there. Plan is to award that contract probably in November. Brenda and I have a meeting tomorrow with funding agencies again to try to hammer some of that stuff down. You've got 3 different funding agencies that are involved, and we also have to look at interim financing, financing for the design phase. So all that stuff is, Brenda and I are working on that. We're starting to get more answers and more clarity on that phase of it. The billing, we've gotten the billing records from the city, and we're talking with our software vendors about integrating that into our billing structure.
Yeah.
We don't expect an answer until next week on how easy that'll be. Worst case scenario, we're only talking about 600 accounts. We'll have those guys up to interim only. I mean, that's the worst case, but I don't think it's going to come to that.
Yeah, hopefully.
We do need to come back next month with a rate resolution since it's going to be a new rate for City Gold Hill. So we'll need to, that'll be part of the agenda for next month about
Okay.
that. Anyway, but first up, we gotta do this.
We'll take little baby steps and then we'll take big ones.
All right, I'll move for approval of resolution 2329, annexation of Gold Hill.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes. What?
Is there any questions first or?
Oh, do you have any questions?
Well, she can't ask questions now.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, but you guys.
We can.
You guys have
You
your
guys.
deliberation.
Do you guys have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay. Now we can go ahead.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Okay, it's been approved. Yeah, we're glad we can do this. We're really glad we can do this. All right, next one is resolution 2330, contract for Shady Cove UV design.
Okay, we talked about this last month. You recall we got we got a preliminary design and cost estimates, which were a little bit higher than what we anticipated. But we decided to move forward with that. I did get a revised scope of work. So we have RH2 Engineering under contract for this work. We awarded that last winter, December or January, I can't remember which. And they've done the first step of it, which was the preliminary engineering, and now we're going to authorize them to proceed with the final engineering. They did give me a quote of it was a lot. It was like $200,000.
$230.
$235. Okay, Brenda's got it. Okay, and that would finalize design, be ready for bid again, hopefully by next summer. We have talked to, and this is part of the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund financing that we were working on with TEQ. And they're kind of pushing us right now to get design, borrow money for the design process, which is fine. We'll be talking about that a little bit further, but you know, and this ties in with the principle for doing this and everything else. So anyway, since it's a even though we awarded the contract last year, since we're changing it, and it's a pretty significant change, I wanted to come back with a resolution just to authorize that next phase of the work.
Guys, have questions?
How much did you say it was? 235?
235 for the, and that's all the way through to the end of construction, all the engineering services.
Okay. What was the original bid?
It's pretty much the same. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they didn't really change the number. And this was in the reason we scaled it back when we first issued is we kind of didn't want to jump in full bore with that big of an expense. So once we got the preliminary design work done, and we decided we want to go ahead and finish up the final design.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the award of contract for the Shady Cove UV design to RH2 Engineering.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Now, we get to talk about that DEQ loan.
Let's talk about that. Okay, so this is something that they need from us to finalize the everything. And this is for the Antelope Road project. This is a $6.6 million project. It's pretty big. It's basically all of Antelope Road, the entire industrial side of it, and a little bit onto the residential side. But they have completed all of the design reviews. We've completed all the environmental clearances. Everything's ready to go. We're ready to sign loan papers as soon as they produce them. And what they're waiting on is to get the final word on the principal forgiveness. So the expectation is that there'll be $2 million of this principal will be forgiven. So we'll do a $6.6 million project and only have to pay back 4.6 of it. So that's kind of good. And we expect that before the next board meeting, that'll be completed. So that's imminent. So this resolution authorizes us to accept the loan, and it authorizes me to sign whatever papers I need to sign to make it happen.
Any questions?
I have none.
Okay. John, you have any questions?
Well, I thought they were gonna forgive half of it, Carl. I guess they're less generous, or did I just hear wrong last time?
It's 50% or 2 million, whichever is.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
I before E except after C.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion, please.
I don't see one on the cheat sheet, but I can make one up.
Uh-oh,
make-
did we miss it?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2321, which is the authorization to accept loan from the Department of Environmental Quality.
2331.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
Roger Trump,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Okie dokie. That one's passed too. All right, next is project update.
Okay, so Nick's not here, so I'll go through this. We just talked about Antelope Road. Like I said, as soon as we sign those papers, we're ready to put that out for bid. There's one issue that's a little bit hanging in the air right now is with Jackson County, is whether or not they're going to allow us to close 2 lanes of Antelope Road. They've been making noise that they want us to do it at night, and we're pushing back as hard as we can on that because that would be a disaster.
That'd be hard.
Antelope Road, it's 5 lanes. We're putting the sewer down the center turn lane, and we keep needing one other lane to work in. It shouldn't be a real problem.
Do you expect to find anything weird out there? Because that's a weird area.
I don't know about expect. Yeah, it would not surprise me if we find anything weird.
Ordinances.
Huh?
Ordinances.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, we've. I don't know if we've ever found anything too weird out there. I mean, I'd be more worried about finding like contaminated soils and things like that than finding artifacts. But we do have. I mean, part of this project is we got an archaeologist report, and if we come across anything, we've got the archaeologist on call, and she'll come out and figure it out.
Dinosaur bones.
Yeah.
Well, does that mean whether it's 1850 or 1940 or?
I think 1940 is old enough to cause problems.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wondering because that area has been used for so many different things.
Right.
And it can be, and so many different things have gone into the ground out there.
But, we're going down Antelope Road, and Antelope Road was built, that was part of Camp White. So
Yeah.
that area at least hasn't been, it wasn't, it's unlikely that any relics from Camp White are there because the road was put there pretty early.
That's true.
So we'll see.
Okie dokie.
So that's moving on. The Shady Cove Pump Station number 2, that's under design. We're upgrading that. That's the biggest pump station in Shady Cove. That basically almost everything from the east side of the river, also across the west side of the river.
Question real fast. Everything that we got out there, once we upgrade that particular pump station, is Shady Cove pretty well sized right for out there, even without some future growth?
Yeah. We don't really have any capacity issues.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say almost anywhere. And Shady Cove is no exception.
Yeah.
But Shady Cove, it's more of a maintenance, replacing stuff as it breaks down.
Then it wears out.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
So again, that's under design. The ODOT Highway 99 Rose to Glenwood. We're doing some relocation work. I think we're still out there doing that. And ODOT's paying for a lot of that for us to adjust manholes and move things out of the way highway project. The Viola siphon project is done except for the striping. And this is, the county, on a road like that, they require a thermoplastic striping, which is, there's not too many people around that do that. I think there's only 3 contractors in the state that do that, so we're waiting on them to get it done.
The county doesn't do that themselves.
They haven't offered to, I don't think they do. That's what I thought too, is like, why doesn't the county just do
Yeah,
it?
they should advocate.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult.
They haven't offered it. The Ashland number 2 force main replacement, that work is under design. And the CIPP projects, that is complete. I think we still have retainage, but everything else there out there is done. The lagoon work, we've got the aerators in, the aerators are working. Everything's looking pretty nice out there. We're still waiting on getting the 3 water from the city of Medford. So we don't have as much flow going into there as what we went to. We're going through, like I said, I mentioned this last time, but they're treating this as a water reuse, like if we were irrigating a field or something like that. So we're going to have to go through the health division processes and things like that. We're getting close, I think. We've answered all their questions and we're just waiting for them to finalize the decision to allow us to take that water. So that's moving along.
Something I don't understand on that. So you're taking their reused water and you're putting it on a sewage bed, and it's obviously going to get retreated.
Yeah.
And so I just doesn't make any sense they're being concerned.
Well, yeah, that's what we've been struggling with. It just doesn't make sense.
All right.
You know, so because it's a separate ownership, it's a separate tax lot. They automatically look at that as if it's a beneficial reuse of effluent. And in the statutes, there's a whole list of different categories of it's different if you're irrigating a hay field versus if you're irrigating a wheat field versus if you're irrigating carrots.
But you're irrigating sewage.
Right.
Yeah.
There's difference, if you don't, but they have, so we don't fit in any of those categories. And that's part of the
Which
problem.
is special.
Is they've got all these listed beneficial uses and supplying water to another sewer plant is not listed as a beneficial use. So they're really having to be creative in how they classify this. And I think that's part of what's taking so much time is that
They should be able to just add on section
yeah.
Z after something to,
Yeah. So
appropriate.
I mean, they went out the comments and, I mean, we got questions from Fish and Wildlife and which is funny because one of the guys from Fish and Wildlife was actually part of the team that kind of helped us with the development of it.
Yeah.
It's just a quirky thing. I mean, I don't know, and I think they recognize that. I mean, they're not trying to be obstructionist. They understand what we're doing and they understand the benefits of it.
Yeah.
But they just have to fit it into the box where it needs to fit. And then I guess on the same vein, we have been working with a couple of different groups regarding the wetlands area there, and we have a planting schedule, and we're going to talk about that next week. But the Watchable Wildlife Foundation has pledged $10,000 to put in plants, so we're going to figure out how to get that in place. It's kind of weird because the whole place is green. I mean, I don't know where you would put any plants right now because everything's growing, but that's likely to happen this fall. Whatever planting we do, we'll try to put it in this fall for it's coming.
Are they like native plants?
Yeah, there's different types of native grasses and brushes and things like that that they think will be better for the better for the enhancement.
Okay.
So that's moving. The Cummins Stormwater Facility. So that one, design is done. All the design approvals are in. We've got all of our environmental clearances done. And this is one of the ones that we applied for DEQ financing for. But they've come back and said they're going to give us grants. We've secured, was it $380,000 from what they call an OSG grant, which I can't remember what that stands for. And that's coming through DEQ. And then we've also got an emerging contaminants grant. So the first 380,000 is going to get paid by one, and anything beyond that is going to get paid by this other one. So
Wow.
they like this project.
Well, because it's an area, it's
Yeah.
taking care of a big area.
So we expect that to happen here again in relatively short order in the next month or so. We should have all that in place, and then we'll put that out to bid for construction in the spring.
Cool.
So that's moving nicely. The 7th Street Stormwater Facility, that's a similar type of a project. It's in White City. But there, we're waiting on a jurisdictional determination from the Corps of Engineers as to whether or not the drainage ditch is a jurisdictional wetland, which there was a Supreme Court decision earlier this year that kind of restricted, a lot of places were claiming jurisdictional wetlands and things that didn't make any sense to be jurisdictional.
Yeah.
And so the Supreme Court kind of trimmed that back about what actually counts as within the Army Corps' jurisdiction. And they haven't quite figured out how to implement that. So we're, if they call this ditch a jurisdictional wetland, then it's going to complicate how we proceed a little bit, but we will still be able to do the work. But the easiest thing is then to say, never mind, this is that ditch.
It's a ditch.
But we'll see if that happens. The Glenwood Stormwater Facility, that one, that's the one where we have the arrangement with ODOT and Jackson County. Jackson County is giving the land, ODOT's doing the construction, and we're taking possession afterwards. Apparently, ODOT didn't fully investigate where there's existing utilities, and there's some conflicting utilities that go through there, phone lines or something like that. So they're working around that. But that's still under design there. And then we talked about the SCADA and the UV work already with that, proceeding with that.
Is the Glenwood Stormwater Facility the one where from the air it looks like a pear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you might show us that design a while back.
Yeah. It was cool.
Picture. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Okay, that's all Nick has to say.
Any other questions or anything? Okey-dokey. So that was project updates. Oh, and O&M,
That's what?
that was project
That
update
was all, the project
and everything.
and everything. Yeah.
So it's your turn.
Well, Shane had some stuff.
Oh,
He's got kind of the work logs from what they've done in the past month. And I think the main thing to address, we've got a couple of electric trucks on order that were supposed to be delivered here in November,
how big
December.
electric trucks are they?
Huh?
How big are they?
I think they're like Silverado size.
Oh,
I mean, they're probably half ton.
okay.
Not sure how the auto workers strike is going to impact that.
Yeah,
So it very well may.
yeah.
We'll see how that plays out. Okay, my turn. Most of this is going to be repeats anyway. I put a note in here. We had a disgruntled customer, really odd complaints, and said that he was thinking of coming to the board meeting to plead his case, but he didn't. But it's just a weird thing. I mean, we had a wrong address in the billing system, and so he didn't get his bill. Once we figured it out, we sent it to him. It was a couple months past due, and he felt like he shouldn't have to pay that. So
It was still less than $100 kind of thing.
yeah, like $88.
Yeah.
I mean, we wrote off his late fees,
Yeah.
which wasn't much, and then offered to write off his late fees for the next 3 or 4 months so that he had the opportunity to catch up, not have to pay it all right then and there. he still wasn't happy.
Well,
He just wanted his sewer bill, and he's like, well, you used your sewer, you owe your
Yeah.
sewer, but we'll wait your late fees for 3 or 4 months to allow you the opportunity to catch up for the previous months that you were behind.
is he,
And he knew he was supposed to be paying for it, and he didn't call.
is he the property owner or renter or?
Property owner, we don't typically bill renters.
You know,
And
So
just-
it was the owner.
property owners, right?
So, we have provisions in our code that basically says that if a person is underbilled for any reason, then we have the authority to go back and back bill them for 12 months. So that's the limitation. So if we fail, if we don't bill them for 5 years, those first 4 years, they get a free ride, but we would go back and get the last 12 months.
He's probably aware of that.
We told him that, yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether he gets his bill and it's mail, whether he sees it,
He used the service, he used the service. He should-
It should be much fun if you use the service and you get a bill, you're gonna owe it sooner or later. You should have realized
Okay, moving on to resolutions we've already talked about. Gold Hill, we've already talked about. The CMOM report. I'm gonna put that on the screen this time. All right. So CMOM, it stands for Capacity Management, Operations and Maintenance. And this was an initiative that started, I'm not sure when, it was probably 20, 30 years ago. EPA was kind of pushing this for sewer collection systems as a way to manage it better. And there's no requirement for it. At one point, they were going to try to make this a requirement, but it never happened. So this is just something that we do to try to kind of keep track of how we're doing. So how I have it broken down into like 14 different pages of just, it's basically a really detailed statistical report. It's kind of like the audit report that Brenda does, except for it's not required by law. So we kind of make stuff up as we go. So the first page, I've got kind of just details of our service area, district size, the population we serve, how many accounts we have, how big of an area, the stormwater areas that we serve. And there's things in there that, it's good to know about, like, Sycamore Properties. I don't think we've ever talked about Sycamore Properties here, but Sycamore Properties is a little 9-lot subdivision out towards Gold Hill. And back in 1979, they had a community septic system that was failing. And DEQ said, you can't take care of this yourself. You have to get someone else to take care of it. And somehow we did it. So we have this 9-lot community septic system that we are responsible for designing Sycamore Properties. And we go out there and periodically inspect that. There was a time about 20 years ago, one of the property owner where the drain field was planted a bunch of poplar trees and destroyed it. So we had to rebuild the drain field, but it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to take care of it. But that's just one of those interesting things. It's good to know about. And I'm going to scroll through this pretty quickly, but if anything catches your eye, if you have questions about it, interrupt me.
I'll interrupt. What's ERU?
Equivalent residential unit. So that's what we use to convert commercial uses into, compare them to a residential unit.
So my question, how come the population that we serve seems to have decreased from?
We had a fire.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. The population we serve is a pretty crude estimate because I just go off of the number of residential units and use a standard conversion from average people per household, which may or may not be accurate. For cities like for Shady Cove or Gold Hill, I've got the actual population data for the city limits, so I can do that. But for the rest of our area, I don't really have a good read on, beyond just trying to convert from our user accounts. So our system inventory, I've got it broken down for our core system, which is everything that's served by the regional treatment plant. And then I've separated out Shady Cove and I've separated out Gold Hill. So this gives, how much pipe we have in the ground, the various types, the different, what I call the critical facilities, the pump stations, siphons, creek crossings, that sort of thing. And then I'm able to break it down and see how old it is, see what's, which is, I think it's a valuable metric just to know that, what kind of deferred maintenance you might have. And you can see, on average, our system is about 34 years old, which is good, I think. It's kind of right in the middle of what life expectancy is for most pipes. And I'm able to break it down by pipe size, so I know how much of it our system is all different pipe sizes, so you can get a sense of, obviously, 8-inch pipe is kind of the bulk of our collection system. Plastic pipe is the bulk of our materials. But you can still see, I still have almost 80 miles of concrete pipe and 40 miles of asbestos cement. So that is something that we're working on eliminating. Moving on, I've got the same type of information from Shady Cove. Shady Cove, you'll see, is an older system, about 40 years old. It was all built at one time. Back in about 1982, the entire system was built, and there's been a little bit of addition since then, but the bulk of it is that's how old the system is. And I got the same information for Gold Hill, except I don't have really much information on Gold Hill system. I got the size information, but not really the ages and things like that. I don't really know Gold Hill. Moving on, we have stormwater systems, but I have that broken down. The different types of water quality treatment facilities we have, list the number of outfalls that we have in all the different creeks. That's something that we have to inspect on a regular basis. We've got the White City industrial area. We've got that map, but we don't have all that entered into our GIS system. So at some point, I'll be able to break out all the other details of that, catch basins and that sort of thing. Our pressure systems, this is our pump stations. And what I have here is like the alarm calls that we have, which is what I'm looking at here, and some of the inspection information. It used to be we would track all of our alarm calls on a spreadsheet, but now we've got everything integrated with our different type of SCADA system that sends out the alarms automatically. And you'll see there's actually quite a lot more alarm calls than we used to get. Most of those correct themselves. Most of those don't require response, but I'm tracking them. Like if there's a power blip, it'll send out an alarm, but it'll send out a correction right away. So it doesn't require a response. But this just gives a sense of just the overall condition of the pump stations themselves.
A quick question on the Gold Hill.
Yeah.
So the Gold Hill system, you have a quarter mile of force main in the Gold Hill system. Will that go away when
there's a low pressure system, step system along Amber Street that serves right now 2 houses and potentially 3 or 4 more. So that's what that is.
Oh, and it pumps into the collection system,
Yes.
so it's not going to go away.
Right. These are the low pressure systems I just mentioned. So the low pressure systems are where you use small diameter pipe for your collection system, and each individual house has some sort of pump on it. And there's kind of 3 different things. There's the step tanks, which is a septic tank that has a pump in it, and that pumps into our system. There's a static tank, which is a septic tank that doesn't require a pump, that just flows by gravity into our system. And then we have grinder pumps, and we're in the process of converting everything into the grinder pumps. It's a more reliable system.
And it just sounds cool to say grinder.
Yeah, so the way these are classified, if you've got a common pressure main, we're supposed to have responsibility for everything up to and including the pump. So we take maintenance responsibility for this. That's one of the reasons why we want to switch them all over. There are a handful of places where people have put in substandard systems. And this is kind of legacy stuff from the 80s and 90s. And there was, we told them at the time, it's like, we won't take responsibility for your pump until you bring it up to our standard. So I listed those, like there's 32 different ones where they put them in, they take care of themselves, and it's not something we bother with. If they ever want to bring it up to our standard, then we would assume responsibility for maintenance. Moving on. Our flow data, you can see a lot of reds in here. We've got a bunch of, the flow monitors that we first installed, 20-some years ago, they're starting to fail, and we were actually well on our way to replacing all of that. We've got it all ordered, we've got a handful of them already in, so we're going to start seeing, we're going to go back to getting proper data on this. We've had a couple of years where it just hasn't worked out too well. I do highlight areas where have what we call excessive flow, where we have peak factors that go 3 or 3.5 or more, and those are areas where it looks like we need to kind of focus our energy to try to reduce the infiltration in those areas. This one is north of Edward Basin. That's actually all so the permanent flow monitors we have on the interceptor, those are the ones that we have. And actually, I can log into the computer now and look at those right now, the ones that are installed. So that's really useful. Move on a little bit further here. I've got the flows from our treatment plants, and then we have been in the process of installing flow meters at our pump stations. So now, moving forward, we're going to have a lot of flow data from our pump stations, and I'll be able to report that on an annual basis. So you can see each pump station that we have the flow meter on right now. The Justice pump station is one where we know we've got some issues with the collection system that need to be addressed. Another one is on the West Gregory area. We get some really ridiculously high flows sometimes when it rains. So
What's all the benefit for having all this information for the flow and everything else?
Two things. One, it'll help us when we do system modeling. This helps us calibrate the models.
Right.
But the main thing, like you say, I look at West Gregory and I say, there's a significant problem there. We got to find out what's going on in that collection system. We got to find where that water's coming from. So that enables us to focus our efforts. Maybe do some soil testing out there, or expertise or something to try to find it and correct it. So we'll be able to do that. So that's the main benefit. I mean, it just gives us more knowledge of our system, and knowing how it reacts under certain conditions. And that's if I got 10 times the flow in a big rainstorm, there's something going on there that we need to address.
When you do find those problems like that, is there typically it's because of this one type of issue happening, or stormwater is overflowed?
Unfortunately, most of it's coming from service levels, and a lot of it, sometimes you'll find that people have like the roof drains tied into their sewers, like that. That's kind of easy to fix. But a lot of times it's just their service levels. Just they have cleanout caps that are missing, or they just got broken pipes that don't work too good. Sometimes you get easy stuff where there's like a manhole sitting in a ditch and it just gets flooded. And you can seal that up. But a lot of it is people make illegal connect. Someone will have like a low spot in their yard and they want to drain it, so they just have it send it to the sewer. It's infrequent, but it does happen. When that does happen, that's a huge source of flow. And I'm not sure about this West River because that one is a really high one. There's times where you do get local flooding, and people will go out there and just pull a manhole with it just to get it out of the so that the street's not putting out too much water in it or something. That does happen occasionally when you have really big events. Preventative maintenance. This is just a kind of summary of all the different, how much BTV, how much we flushed. We do have targets. The is we win a TV, everything, these wins every 5 years, and we're gonna flush every 3 years, and so this kind of lets us think we're on track for that. We track all of our inspections on stormwater systems, and our fog inspections. You'll see we got a bunch of zeros here on our fog inspections. And the reason for that is we've kind of shifted our priorities there, and we are more reactive now. So if our flushers or TV crews see areas where there's a lot of grease in the pipe, that'll trigger the inspections. We're not going out.
Also, you're not doing regular inspection?
No, I mean, it's kind of a manpower thing. We've kind of shifted where we're focusing on people. Hopefully that'll work, and we won't just get too complacent. But as long as we're not seeing it in the pipe, I don't think there's really a necessary need to go out to the restaurants and go into there. The repairs and rehab, this is just a different work. The repair orders, that's usually our construction crew taking care of things. And then the rehab projects, how many feet of pipe we've replaced or relined. It's a little bit low for last year, but we're just finishing up a couple of pretty big projects right now. So sometimes I track it when the project's completed, not when it's actually done. So like this cost, we've spent more than $600,000 last year on rehab projects, but I don't put that on here until the project's finally accepted. Blockages and overflows, I got a bunch of zeros. I had one little overflow in Gold Hill this year, but other than that, it's pretty tight. We get illicit discharge reports for stormwater. We track all of those. Most of those turn out to be we'll track that. Do construction. Okay, this is we track the number of projects that people submit to us, that how many they complete, how much pipe is completed, how many new lots we get, how many permits we issue, all that information. You can kind of see trends and see how things are going. And it's helpful to us. On the treatment plants, I summarize all of what how much we treat, what we discharge. I do track how much chlorine we use, how much electricity we use, that sort of thing, just to get an idea of the performance of it. And this is something that I think is a useful metric if you look at it. If you compare Gold Hill to Shady Cove, Gold Hill, it's about 4,000 kilowatt hours per million gallons. Shady Cove, it's 8 to 10,000. And that's just kind of the difference in scale that you're seeing in the efficiency of the plants, which is one of the reasons why Gold Hill is such a difficult one to operate. And then at the lagoons, we track how much cold waste we receive. Our level of service, I talk about our staff levels and track our sewer rates. And I try to compare our sewer rates to the median household income. And that's a metric that is commonly used. And the idea is that if your sewer rate is more than 2% of the median household income, then you start getting into a distressed area. And so we're not really there yet. We're not even close, actually. Shady Cove and Gold Hill are higher, obviously. Gold Hill's, and their rates are going to go up a lot faster than anyone else, so we might get close to that level. So again, I think this is just a good measure of how well we're working with the community in setting rates appropriately. We track the number of complaints we get. I don't track what the resolution in here, but they're all resolved. You look at a lot of them where it says clogged line, almost always that's going to be in their own house. We've got a clog, but they call it in, so we keep track of it. I do track the number of insurance claims we get, just to get a sense of how that's working. And we're pretty steady. I mean, we get them, and last year there was a fair number of them. Actually, we had a couple of car crashes and we had a theft, so
Yeah.
it happens. But nothing that you can see, I mean, the incurred losses are good. Financial stuff, this is kind of a summary of what shows up in the audits, but I might break it down a little bit differently. But I track all the different revenue from all the different sources that we got. I try to track how our expenses go, whether they go towards collections, towards treatment, stormwater, that sort of thing. And then both as total numbers and as percentages. And then I break down, how our personnel costs are broken up, with wages and benefits, just trying to keep a good handle on that. And then this bottom is one I like a lot. And this is the operating cost based on the miles of paid based on the equivalent residential units. And I will tell you, you can extract this data from any other city, any other sewer district in the state, and they're going to be double wells. And that's something that I'm pretty proud of. It's just more, it's just more comparisons on where we spend the money. And I got a pie on here. So this is where our money comes from. You can see it's all almost all coming from sewer rates and just a smattering of other things. And then our expenses, you can see, the biggest one is treatment costs. And most of that is going to Medford. Our admin costs are modest. Our stormwater costs are pretty minimal. And in the collections operations, reasonable. Our debt service cost, you see, is really high. But you remember, we paid off $2 million of debt last year. So that's why that's elevated. Next year, it's going to be double. So, moving on, safety, we made a report to OSHA every year. So this is a summary of that, which we've had since last year. That's on a calendar year basis. Environmental impact, we track how much energy we use, and we track a conversion of like how much carbon released to the atmosphere. The green stripe here that's what we're generating with solar power. So, and then again, this is good to see kind of the overall trend and see where we're focused, where our energy expenses are going. And I put that into a pile. So, yeah, you can see, most of the energy we get is from electricity from the grid. We get a little bit of solar, and the next biggest one is going to be diesel power. And where it's going, mostly into vehicle fuel and pumping. The treatment is a little bit misleading because it doesn't account for it, City of Medford. So that treatment, that's just all the 2 plants that we have, which, and you can see for little plants like that, they use a tremendous amount of energy. And I forgot to highlight one other thing. Sorry. My favorite statistic. This very bottom one where it says reinvestment rate. So when I compare the total amount we spend on infrastructure costs versus the total value of our system and divide that, last year, basically we reinvested 2.9% into our system. So that gives us kind of a total replacement of the system about 40 years or so, which I think is really good. And I was up at a conference a couple of years ago, and someone from Business Oregon was talking about, are you putting enough in your system rehabilitation to maintain? I said, 9%. He says, well, how do you know? I said, I got this. And it's for them, because no one does it.
No.
It just goes to show me how much you're control
Yeah.
and how well positioned the company is.
Yeah.
And Carl's a geek when it comes to statistics.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
and I get paid to do this.
That's right. Yeah, fun with statistics.
Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about the strategic plan. So while ago, whenever we did that, December 2019, we adopted our strategic plan, and we laid out a whole bunch of different, we identified our company values and our strategic goals. And then we based the performance incentive on that. So we have this long list of goals that we want to meet. And based on that percentage that we've met, we put a pool of money in that we distribute to the staff at the end of the year. So it's kind of a two-part thing. And just to kind of go through it real quickly, we have, everything's kind of based on the value. So we have a value of system integrity, and we've got a series of goals on here. You can see, what we've met, what we haven't met. Some of the stuff is in progress and not ready to be complete yet. The system modeling, the computer modeling, that's one I think is really important, and we're pushing hard on that. We had a little bit of a hiccup because the guy that we had on staff that we were training to do that left, went to the Water Commission, and then a couple of years later we hired him back.
He saw
But we're gonna-
he saw the error of his ways.
But that's in progress. My Shady Cove #2 pump station, we were hoping to get that done a couple of years ago. We had some things happen, and so that got delayed, but that's still in progress. So we'll get that one done. Some of them, like down here, identifying open ditches classified as jurisdictional wetlands. That was something that we were, the idea was that we would get all that determined, and then whenever we did work out there, we'd have that already. I don't think we're gonna finish that. That was, we were able to do that when Jenny was here because she was a licensed wetland scientist, and she could do that work. We don't have that capacity anymore. So that one's probably not gonna happen. But overall, like I said, we've done pretty good about meeting those goals. Some of the disaster planning, fragility analysis type stuff, I mean, that's kind of higher level. And it's just been hard to carve out the time to get some of that done. So that one's going to be a bit of a challenge of whether or not we'll be able to finish that. We've got a couple of years left on this. For customer service, we haven't published a newsletter in a couple of years, so we need to get back to doing that. And some of these policies, they're useful to have, but it's not like a real critical thing that we're suffering because we don't have them.
How often did we do that?
We used to try to do it every year this spring. And we've missed the past 2 years.
Yeah.
The drive mapping, this one here, we're trying to clean up our network and kind of make it, they tend to grow organically, and we try to kind of get it back to a more orderly state. Well, we've got the map made, and now we just need to migrate all of the data to the right folders, and Carol's working on that. That's actually, we're getting close to.
That's what they keep telling me.
Yeah. The financial stuff, again, we don't really have a choice on this. I mean, if we don't complete these, then we get slapped around by the state. And so Brenda's been real diligent about making sure we complete all of those on the financial side. Environmental protection, spill drills, the training exercises. We've been, we do a lot of training, but we haven't, what we try to do is kind of do a dummy spill and kind of walk everyone through it at half speed, just to make sure everybody understands what needs to happen. We missed that this year, so that's on our agenda now. And then the pumping capacity, that's something that we need to get our modeling in shape to do that, because the idea is we want to make sure that we have enough pumps that if we had a failure anywhere in the system, we'd be able to address it. And I think we do, because we've got some pretty big bumps, but we haven't done the analysis to actually prove it. So that's, again, still on our list there. The biosolid stuff, that's not likely to happen. And the reason is I'm hesitant to try to move forward on that while we still have the issue of the PFAS hanging over us. Until that's really got some kind of resolution, I don't think it's responsible to try to push for reusing a new project,
Yeah.
reusing biosolids. I've actually signed up for a workshop in November that's going to be focused on PFAS to get a better understanding of that. And then the fish passage one, again, that's, we've got a couple places where we've got crossings in Bear Creek that we create a little bit of a cascade where the pipe is, and Fish and Wildlife doesn't like that. They'd like us to try to figure out a way around it. And so we were going to look at that, but yeah, that kind of fell off the side. There is one area on 10th Street, 10th or Cottage, somewhere in Medford, where it's a big cascade. It's a big pipe, it's a 54-inch pipe, and I'd like to get a better look at that and address it. The original plans, I mean, it shows it was built right into the bed of the creek and with concrete all over it. But not necessarily so much as a fish passage thing, but just as a making sure it doesn't get washed out. That's something that needs to be addressed. But
Yeah.
I think to try to go through and do a bunch of fish passage
Well,
stuff.
sometimes when you do the fish passage thing, you also do the thing where you're taking care of the community around it, so it doesn't flood and do stupid stuff.
Yeah, kind of my idea there is I just want to make sure that the pipe, the integrity of the pipe is protected. And if there's erosion happening around it, we need to fix that. And if we're going to fix that, then you can kind of address some of the other issues and make it easier for fish, I guess.
It's a matter of paying attention.
Yeah, the employee empowerment stuff, this is just a matter of trying to keep staff involved in all of our decisions. And I wanted to bring something up here real quick. Before COVID, we used to pick a random employee and have them attend our board meetings.
Yeah.
And I know we like that. You guys up for trying that again?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, I'm almost done.
That was fun because we got to meet them and that was nice.
Yeah. So this is an idea, when I talk about the employee incentive, this is kind of the money we're talking about here. So for this year, it's a total of about $16,000. And what we do is I've got a formula that adjusts that based on the person's seniority, and then we give that out and we do our annual report. It's just a nice little treat for everybody. It's it gives them something to work for. They do focus on this and try to make sure that they get all their stuff done. And it's a nice way to go at the end of the year. So, and it comes to about $300-400 a person. So it's not a huge amount, but it's enough to make a nice day.
I'm sure that's appreciated too.
Yeah, I think so.
Puts a smile on your face.
Yeah. So that, I wanted to give that report.
I've got one question before you change. You discussed the newsletter. When you do your Gold Hill billing, will you be doing the billing from here?
Yes, we're going to do the billing from here, and we're going to be sending out information beforehand just to.
Well, that's a great chance to put the newsletter in with their bill, like Citizens Point does with their
Water bill.
water bill. They have.
But we
Well,
do
with
little
us,
cards.
yeah, it's still cheaper for us to do, we just do postcard billing, we don't do paper and envelope
Okay.
billing. So that's where we just send the newsletter out once a year.
Okay. Yeah,
And time
good
again.
idea.
On the back of the paper bills, there's a little area for notes. We just do
Yeah,
notes, but
but not much. I mean, we got like not even 144 characters.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the last thing I got, this just came yesterday, but the City of Talent is asking for us to cover the cost of their STCs for a restroom at a park. We've done this traditionally for all cities everywhere, and I'll come back with a formal resolution next month for that, but if it's okay with you, I'm gonna go ahead and proceed as if we would do that. And the cost for us is minimal. I mean, we end up having to pay the regional STC, which in this case is gonna be about $800. And we put a little plaque on the restroom that says, this restroom brought to you by everybody, so cool. And you can see, if you go to parks around, you'll see that.
Yeah.
We've done that for as long as I've been here.
Tradition.
Yeah. So with that, I think that is all I have, except for payments.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
Roger Trout,
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Okay, the bills are paid, everything's cool. Anybody have anything final before we leave? Okay,
All right. Thank you all.
thank you. Yeah. I